What's up guys, Chris here from Mainly Mesh, taking you through another review quickly of the Wolf Athletics Aura Stringing Kit, A-U-R-A, that comes with every Recon head. It's something that's pretty cool, especially the sidewall string, so I want to really make sure I give it enough attention. The only weird thing about this mesh is that the diamond size is a little smaller than standard. So I mentioned this in the Recon head review, but it's more almost in like a 16 millimeter range. It's not like the true OG 15 millimeter that was a little bit too small to do much with. But it is a little bit small, and I don't quite think it fits this head too well for like a low pocket pattern. So you can make a really nice high pocket and use a bunch of extra diamonds. I actually used 11 diamonds in this head and still did a 9D throat string, which is something I never do. I almost always use 10 and then a 9D throat. So it's a little bit different, but is still a really solid option overall. My two favorite things about this string kit though are the sidewall strings as well as the quick tips. So the sidewall strings are made of a polyethylene material, which is that Spectra Dyneema otter mesh style thing, so that 15 times stronger than steel that a lot of people have been putting out recently, and they feel amazing. So the natural characteristics of that type of material, which you guys have been hearing from a bunch of different angles, is it has a really high tear and abrasion resistance. It's very smooth, so what kind of makes it not as great for mesh in terms of that it slips a little bit, makes it really solid for strings, because once you tie that knot, the knot actually doesn't come as undone as you would think. It sits very tight, but it's easier on your fingers. It's lighter than your standard string. So they've been advertising that this is the lightest string kit commercially available right now, and it's true. These sidewall strings are super light. It's probably the difference of a gram or two, so nothing that's going to really change the performance of your stick. But with that cut weight in the mesh and the strings, overall it really does deliver a really light feeling head. The most important thing about using a polyethylene material in sidewall strings though is that these things aren't going to break. And I hear a lot of complaints about sidewall strings breaking. People were just trying to kind of push the limits on sidewall strings, and I know String King, their first generation, ripped a lot. Their latest generation are great. That's still the strings that we use in our stringings, but kind of that last like 2 year period, as some of the retailers were still kind of getting rid of that first batch. We definitely saw some more breaks than we usually did, as well as other manufacturers trying to use kind of a non-nylon sidewall string. The nylon strings were stronger, but they also stretched out over time. So I think people are being a little bit too harsh on this breakage issue, because what was the worst when I first started with nylon strings is when you would tie something up and it would bag out and you'd have to go back and re-tie those sidewall strings. That stunk. So at least the first generation that were breaking a little bit weren't doing that, but they also weren't very strong. So it's kind of a pick your poison here. These are super strong, super lightweight, and it's just something you're never going to have to replace your sidewall string, which is really nice. People have been using more complicated knots too, which add to the internal abrasion in these sidewall strings, which was causing them to break more. Yada yada yada. Not going to have that issue with these strings. Final thing I want to take you through are the quick tips. These are something that are absolutely awesome, and I want to give you a little quick run through up close as to how they work. Oh, and Derek is telling me that the strings have a 6-month warranty, which is unheard of. I've never heard of a sidewall string with a warranty. So it's got a 6-month one. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to introduce you guys to Ugly Betty real quick. This is one of the trads Derek strung up. That's really fun to mess around with. But it's got a lot of loose strings here. So here's how these bad boys work. This is a quick tip. So it's this little plastic sleeve, and there's a few different ways you can do it. You can cut it first and then slide it over and melt it. But really what these are designed for is to alleviate any of the wear and tear on your fingers. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to slide this down. It slides on super easy, so it's much wider than the width of a string. I'm going to slide it to where I want that tip to be, and then all I'm going to do is I don't even have to touch this thing. I'm just going to burn it, and as you can see, it naturally shrinks. I don't even have to touch it. I can let it cool if I want. Even if I do touch it, it's not going to get as hot as a normal string. And then once it is cooled down a little bit, I'm going to take my handy dandy lighter case, which you can find at mainlymesh.com for $14.99, and I am going to just snip. It's hard to film. Ooh, look at that. Quick tip, done. That is tipped. That is not going to fray. If I want to, I don't need to. I can just burn it a little bit at the end. But I didn't even have to touch that string if I didn't want it to, and now I have a tip. So that is crazy cool. overall, awesome stuff from Wolf Athletics. I was really impressed with this head. I remember being very disappointed in the Aries when it first came out, and they have totally flipped my opinion of their product with this head here. So really excited for this. Like I said, link in the bio down below. Make sure you check them out. Thanks so much to them for sending this bad boy over. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch you guys next time.